So, once upon a time in southern Mexico, during the 7th century, there was a city called Palenque. It was occupied during the early Classic period, but not until the late Classic period, during King Pacal's reign, where the buildings you see today were built. Most of the people in Palenque lived in the city, but few people lived outside in the countryside for agricultural and stuff like that. But then, around the turn of the 8th century, many Mayan sites were all of a sudden deserted, and people just kind of left. And most archaeologists and historians don't really know why or don't agree on why that happened. So, King Pacal. King Pacal started ruling around the age of 12. He ruled for about 68 years. He started building 3 temples, and one of his most famous temple, the Temple of Inscriptions, he built for himself to be buried in. The other 2 temples he was unable to finish, but his son, Chan Balum, finished the temples for him when King Pacal died. When King Pacal died, inside the Temple of Inscriptions, they built this really elaborate, it was kind of like this big pyramid, and you had to go down a bunch of flights of stairs until you reached this large tomb. And this large sarcophagus had him inside of it, but the lid of the sarcophagus was this intricately drawn carving of King Pacal. This. And this is really big. It's like 7 feet long, like 4 feet wide. It's really big. It's really big. And a team of archaeologists found it in 1952. And most historians and archaeologists disagree on the translation of what is actually happening in this artifact. One of the first depictions that I found is that here, King Pacal is dancing out of the underworld in this position that he's standing in. He's kind of like this. He's dancing out of the underworld, and the underworld, or to the Mayans, Xibalba, is right here. So here is Xibalba, and he is like being reborn, and he is coming out of the underworld back into the tree of the world. And here, this thing right here, is the tree of the world. And on top of the tree of the world is this special celestial bird that, I don't think they know really the significance of it, but it's important because they have it there. And that is one of the depictions. And another depiction that I found is that he's falling from the tree of the world. The tree of the world is like where we are now. And he's falling into Xibalba. And here he's sitting on some skull. It looks like that they think that it's some people call it the monster of the sun, but he's sitting on this large skull. And the last depiction of this artifact I found, the ones that I find that really most believable, is that King Pacal is another showing of him being reborn. He's not dancing out of the underworld, but he's being reborn, and the pose that he's doing now is seen in other artifacts that they found from the Mayan time period. It's like the maize god they found in this position, and the sun god they found in this position. And I think George Stewart and David Stewart talked about this translation in their book called Palenque, and they talked about how the sun god is in here somewhere. I couldn't find where, but I think it's over here somewhere. But the sun god and the maize god, the Mayans worshipped, and the Mayans thought that their rulers and kings were divine or godlike, and a ruler or god's life journey was a lot like the sun. Like, it would come down at night, and then he would be reborn during the day, and then he would die again. He'd go away and then come back, and then just like the maize, when they're born, it goes away, and then during the spring it comes back again, and it just regrows. And that's how the Mayans viewed rulers' lives. And historians and archaeologists still don't really agree on what this artifact shows or what it really depicts. I mean, I guess we'll never know. We don't really understand a lot of the things that are going on in this picture. But any historian, all the historians agree that there is nothing to do with aliens with this picture. This is where the original idea or yeah, the idea that King Pakal is like doing controls or something, and that it's actually fire beneath him, but it's not. All historians agree that that actually never happened. So this is one of the more not done.
Oh.
But all historians agree that this is one of the more important artifacts they've ever found from Palenque in southern Mexico, and that it really explains some of the, depending on what you think, it really explains their religion and how they viewed rulers and the underworld and things like that, stuff like that.